Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, doing another video for my Wonderscape auto material. So we are going to be going over the various nodes that can be found my within my tool. So the first thing we're going over are my masks. There are 5 of them. They are very powerful, and they are all unique one to another, and they will provide anything and everything that you need for the vast majority of your projects. So these masks in question are height, area, angle and slope, and noise. Now you may be wondering, why are these two here? Aren't they identical? Yes and no. They both do the same thing in different ways, which allow for different effects. I use the angle mask for my snow top, and I'll show you why in a moment. And then I use slope mask for the cliff and the dirt. The noise uses the noise node, and something that each of these 4 have in common is you'll see edge noise parameters and the texture, and whether you want to use them or not. This one does not, because it is its own noise, and I found it redundant to put noise textures on top of something that's already random. It's also important to note that you do not have to use every single one of these variables, of these pins. They all do have their own base variable within the nodes themselves if all you want are specific ones. And that is what I'll be showing off here. I will only be showing off the noise in a couple of masks. These will be staying in their default because I don't need them for this example. Let's go ahead and get started here. The first one we will try is the height mask. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the base color. We're going to hit save. And here we go. You'll see this weird, odd thing going on here. And I'll explain how all this works. Don't need that turned on, but I do need these turned on. So these circles are determined from the variation, the size, and the transition. I change this to 100. All right, it's not going to change because of how small it is, the differences are here on this. But if I come here to variation, change this to 100, they've gotten smaller. If I change the size to 10, there's fewer of them, but they've gotten bigger. Now, you're not going to run into this situation a large portion of the time, at least not in the playable area, and that's where it matters. See, as you can see, now all those small circles that were originally there, change this, we're gone. So I change this back to 10. It looks a lot more manageable. If I change this to 300, it's even better. We'll keep the transition where it is for now. So obviously I can, if I go and change this to 100, there we go. We got quite a bit of a difference here. And you can see that there is a beautiful transition that is determined by this. Now, obviously you're not always going to want the heights going in one direction. That's why there's a height direction. Right now it's false. I'm going to go to true. Now you have your snow tops. If I recall correctly, actually, that would make this the lake. Snow tops would be right now. So black would be, at least how I have mine set up. You can set it up however you wish if you're creating your own materials. So next up, we will go with the noise mask. This one's a fun one. I enjoy it. I use it for the random dirt you can find throughout the project. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of weirdness going on at the moment, and that's okay. It's because of the size. If we change this size to 50, there we go. And you can see what's going on. Obviously, You can also change it to 500. Helps give a lot of great randomness. And obviously, if you combine it with a slope, then this part would be missing right now because there'd be mountain showing instead. It's really limited only by your imagination with how modular I have everything. Then the negative will make it smaller. If I go to 0, it also would make it bigger. Then you have this. As you can see, as it gets closer, it's different. So there are differences, and it's important to have that flexibility. Now, obviously, contrast is different as well. The strength removes the transition. Let me get closer for you. Then the intensity. They all perform their own thing. Now, the dirt noise shape. X and Y obviously is just going to move them to the side. Oh, wait. There we go. It wasn't big enough. But this is going to change the shape. Just gives you a whole bunch of different things to play around with. Next on our list is the slope mask, one of the most common ones that you will utilize. Turn all these on real quick. So I have the noise on by default. Again, as pointed out, you can make it a variable so you can choose, or you can always have it off, which would give it its perfectly straight, which you can kind of see right now. And I'll show you how to remove that. Come in here, go to contrast, 2, bam, straight is completely gone. Intensity, you know, make it even more shocking if you like. Edge noise. See, if you have it that high, then you would want to mess with these a bit more. Very rarely would you ever want it that high in this instance. There we go. So to see the largest difference here, well, before we do that, I guess I should show you. Go. That's what the other two do. So you guys can see the difference between the slope and the angle. The next one we will be doing is angle. Hit save. Right now there's nothing there. That's because we need to come in here and mess with these. Now obviously if you go to 1, you're going to be showing off all of this stuff. If you do -1, there it goes right there. Same happens with G, which is Y, and -1. Now if we go with 1, obviously here's what you got. And if you go with -1, there's not going to be much of anything because it's underneath. So how I have it set in the for the snow is at 0.7. So as you can see, it looks quite a bit different. If I come back here to the slope, hit save, massive difference. And that's why it's important to understand these masks and how and when to use them. So for snow tops, snowy areas, it's beautiful, it's perfect. Then obviously you can mess with the the edge noise and all that stuff just like it was. We also have the contrast, which at 2 brings it closer to what it was like in the with the slope. And then you have the strength, which keeps it pretty much the same but reduces the transition. Lastly, we have the area mask. It's pretty self-explanatory. Hit save here. Here's my area, right here. Check mark, check mark, check mark. For this, I have this texture, which I did not add because there's no reason to have it, because I only have this one texture. For you guys, you'll have access to being able to change the texture for those who have it. So, this is all I'm showing, because you know what edge does, the edge noise stuff does. Obviously, we can change it. If you go to 0, it just blocks it out. Looks kind of ridiculous. Interesting. I'm not sure why my mask intensity is not doing anything. Mess with that later. And the sharpness. Maybe that's something that's needed for this. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Intensity was working. There just wasn't enough to show. So those are my 5 masks that you can utilize in your own materials, or utilize all of my nodes to create your own auto material. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.